I'm not doing anything wrong. Please don't tell me I am. And I was like, I'm learning, I'm slowly getting there. At this point, I'm like, just break the thing. I don't care, I'll pay to replace it. That's the sexiest thing you've ever done. Own your weaknesses and all that jazz. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, I am Yvette and I moved to the UK in May last year. So I've coming up, I'm over here 6 months, isn't it? Time is flying. I can't believe how fast it's been. But despite being here 8 months, I still do things on a daily basis that make me cringe internally because they're stupid mistakes and embarrassing, and I thought I would make a video, and I kind of just want to own my mistake. So if I make a video about it and tell you, then it's a fun joke we all meant to do on purpose and not something super embarrassing. Own your weaknesses and all that jazz. Before we get into it, I do want to say a very heartfelt thank you on my last video. I know it wasn't something I normally do. It was, for those of you, if you're new, is my experiences with the Australian bushfires and how to help. I'll put a card up the top if you're interested, but everyone left such kind comments and very nice thoughts and feedback, and I just made me feel really good. I want to get back and try and reply to everyone, but it's hard because you guys were all so nice and I want to give you all like paragraph answers back, and that just takes forever. But thank you nonetheless, you're all amazing. I'm very lucky to have such a supportive community watching. Now, since that was a bit of a downer of a video, I thought we'll make a bit more of a fun one, and you can all laugh at me and laugh at all the dumb things I do in the UK. So we'll get into it. First one, I'll keep it fast and simple. I call them highways. They're a motorway here. And you know what's even stupider is that when I'm in Australia, the main highways are called like the M5, the M4, the M whatever. So it's literally called motorway, but for some reason my brain has learnt highways, and it's very hard to break, as you just saw. So I need to start getting used to the motorway. I do, if I'm referring to a specific road like the M25, I'll say the M25. If I'm referring to like highways in the UK, I like blah, and then I always get corrected and I'm like, ah, stupid, I knew the answer, but it's just really hard to break something that's so commonly said. The other thing with your highways, I get embarrassing because I don't know how it works, and I still don't know how it works, but I think I'm not doing anything wrong. Please don't tell me I am. You guys have a lot of speed cameras, that's fine, we have speed cameras, and then you have an average speed camera on motorways, where it takes your number plate, measures how far you get to the next point, and then averages it, and if it's over, it takes your photo. I understand the concept. We have those in Australia, but they only count for trucks, so I've never worried. But I'm not a speedy person, I'm like pretty compliant, I like to follow the rules. So what I normally do when I'm on a motorway is put on my cruise control. So that way I can't accidentally speed, you know, because when you're doing a long drive, it's easy to lose track if you're feeling complacent. So I know I'm not in the wrong because I don't speed, and most of the time I'm in traffic, so I'm like, there's no chance I'm averaging anything above 20 miles an hour at the moment. This is where the confusing bit comes. Sorry, I've rambled so much about how the roads work, you guys know. At the end of the zone, it takes photos randomly. I don't understand. I had someone who was like tailgating me so bad, and I was like, I'm not about to get a ticket because you're impatient. So I was like, I don't care, and I'm like going slow. And then the things went off, and then I had like a full panic. I'm like, did I just get a ticket? Oh my god, blah blah blah. I'm still on my Australian license. So I'm like, is that bad? I was like, so then I just anxiously waited. This was like 3-4 months ago now, so I know I'm in the clear. If I had a fine, it would have come, but I just don't know why they go off randomly, and then I see them going off quite a lot, and I'm like, surely not everyone is speeding like that. So I don't understand. Please enlighten me. Why do the cameras go off so much on motorways? It gives me anxiety so bad. My next embarrassing thing I think will surprise no one. I have to consciously remember to call them flip-flops. They are thongs to me, which if I'm with Daniel is less embarrassing. However, if we're in public and I'm like, oh, you should pack your thongs, that sounds crazy to people. So I'm always trying to say flip-flops. And I've Googled this. Australia is the only country in the world that says thongs for no apparent reason. So I'm trying to change my vocabulary to say flip-flop. 9 out of 10, that's the word people are going to expect. Even if I'm not in the UK, if I'm in like America, Brazil, wherever, I want to be saying flip-flop because thong is the worst, and similar to highway, it just slips out because I'm so used to it. I also get critiqued because I say data. No, I don't. I say data. See, I've learnt to correct myself. I say data because normally when I say data, it's quite getting better now, but when I used to say it used to sound really American. It used to be like data, data. Like, it used to sound weird. So I've been like, in my job, I have to analyze data. So it keeps coming up when I'm like, oh, the data shows this, the data that, my data is this. Will that come up in the data? And every time I'm like, data, 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 data. So I'm trying to say data more, so I don't get corrected constantly. The other one that came up at my Christmas party, I say backyard, which I realized the UK do not say backyard. You guys say garden, which I think is so much nicer. So yeah, I was talking to a guy at my work and he was talking about his dog, and I have a dog, so we were like connecting. He was saying his dog was destroying his house, and I was like, oh, do you have a backyard you could put him in? And he's like, garden? And I was like, sorry, do you have a garden that you can put him in? And he's like, yes. And then so I was like, it just keeps coming up, because I think when you hear yard, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like your first instinct is more of a measurement, not a backyard. I don't know where this came from. I don't know why Australians say backyard or front yard rather than back garden and front garden. Is that how you call it, or is it just the garden? Is the garden always in the back? What do you call the front garden? Adding to the embarrassment is that I often call things pants. Oh man, pants in general I get messed up. Pants I know are underwear, like underpants. I call them undies or underwear. I've been trying to say jeans and trousers and stay away from pants, or leggings, like say what it is, not like a collective. And I'm getting better at it. I think the first time the other day I said the word pants for underwear, and I was like, I'm learning, I'm slowly getting there. Weirdly, that one's been easier to adapt than say like motorway, but here we are. So I've been here, what we call it, say 8 months-ish, give or take. I've been to London many times. Like, so if you add up all the times I've been in the UK, I would say I've been here a year, like from years past. You'd think I'd know the tube system. I'm normally so good at it, but I just had so much of like a brain fart day the other day, and a journey that should have taken me an hour at most took me an hour and a half, and I ended up what should have been 2 or 3 trains depending on the route I take. I ended up getting on 8 different trains because I kept getting on ones that like it was the circle district combination, so ones that were going the wrong way, or ones that were going to random offshoots or something. Like, I can't. Ugh. And then even when I got on the right train, oh my gosh, it was just so stupid. Then I got off the train, waited for the correct train to arrive at the station, and then that one was like changed to a circle line instead of a district. I was like, oh, I just want to get home. And then where I live on the Northern Line, and if you know the Northern Line, it forks. I always know I get on the line with a certain name on it. After 6 trains, my brain just switched off, and I just jumped on the next Northern Line train, not checking where it was going. So then I had to get off the train, get on another one going the opposite direction, and go back down to a connecting one and go back up to get home. It was like, what? Have I even been to London before? Jesus, like, God. Even a year later, I was just like one of those days, you know, where you just like can't make a right choice. Do you know another word I say wrong is I say route, because route means something very different in Australia, and in Australia you can say route or route. I go with route because route means something a bit more nefarious, and so I don't like using that term, so like to me that means that, so now I use the American, but that's just because I don't want to say like sex, you know. So it's hard. So I'm trying to get into saying route and just removing the negative connotations to my mind. Another thing I try and make sure I don't say wrong, because Brits get so offended. In Australia, oh my gosh, I'm getting local. In Australia, we call it soccer. I'm trying to get used to saying football. I think football's the correct way. It's just really hard to fight against your indoctrination. So trying to get used to saying football and Premier League and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, soccer does slip out, and my partner does enjoy a game of football. So, and also Australia has so many stupid sports, because you got soccer, then football to them is like NRL or AFL. I don't know even know NRL stands for, so some sort of rugby. And then there's Australian rugby. And then I'm sure there's another one. We have too many and I don't know the rules to any of them. But I do know the rules for football, so I need to like learn that one. So my next few are all about the houses and apartments. Firstly, houses here are much bigger than Australia, and I generally feel like that isn't the expectation. I feel like what I read online is like, oh, houses in the UK, particularly London, are really small, and I'm like, no, they're not. I'll look at some townhouses just as I'm like strolling by, and then if I like go on, you know, Rightmove or whatever, it's like 5 bedrooms, and I'm like, you can't find a 5-bedroom house in Sydney. Like, they don't exist, and if they do, they're big houses. So all of these houses that look quite small, they go so far back and they're so far tall, so they're much more bigger than they seem. I always say to Daniel that they're like, every house here's a TARDIS, like they're always bigger on the inside. And then the other thing with houses is like, I find, because I've been trying to look at houses that you would like have a family in, and I'm like not limiting myself to London, I want to look elsewhere, but it seems to be that there's no middle ground. It's like, say, a terraced house or a townhouse, and it's 5 bedrooms, but then like one of those bedrooms is like half a closet and they're calling it a bedroom, so it's not really 5 bedroom, it's more like 4 and a storage room, that situation. Or you go 5 to 6 bedrooms and then it's like a proper mansion house with 6 bedrooms, a pool, a gym, or like a study on top of that. Like there's no normal, there's no middle. And I'm like, where's like a normal 5-bedroom house that I could then use the 5-bedroom as a study? Do you know what I mean? Something like that. This is not now, obviously, this is like many, many, many years into the future. But I was just like trying to see what the layout was for houses here, because it's all very foreign to me. And I was like, there just seems to be like no middle. It's either like calling a closet a room or having way too much and not counting them as rooms. So I'm like, the other thing with your apartments and houses is that they're all well insulated. They don't get cold. I routinely would get my cold feet and stick them on Daniel's back in bed, and that's when we knew winter was coming, and that was the sign. However, I can't do that anymore because my feet don't get cold. We have radiators and double glazing, and I'll turn the radiator on for like an hour or two, and then that heats the apartment up, and then it's good for the day. Like that's it. Like it's so good. Sydney houses, and everywhere in Australia, but Sydney houses are built to keep the heat out. So winter sucks, and also at 47 degrees, everything's hot. You can't keep it out. So it just sucks for both. So you've got to run this air conditioning that then goes out the house anyway, because it's not insulated. It's, yeah, I brought over so many slippers thinking, oh, my feet are gonna be so cold in the British winter. No, not at all. Have barely used them. Like the houses say so warm and cozy. I'm in a t-shirt in January. That would not happen in a Sydney house. Or also January would, but you know what I mean, in the winter. Also, I don't know if this is necessarily a British thing or just an apartment block thing. I've not lived in an apartment before. And we had this, it's just a funny story and it's super embarrassing. And I thought this is the perfect video to put it in so you can all laugh at me. We went away over Christmas. If you've been following me on Instagram, you saw all of our Finnish travel adventures with like the snowmobiling and all Christmas villages and that. We turned all the electricity off because we don't want, you know, a fire to break out while we're not here. As you can see, I have trauma from fires, so I take precautions. So when we came back from our holiday, we got home at 8, so we had a bit of time, which we don't normally get home that early. And the apartment was very cold because no one's been in here. I understand that. So I turned the heaters on, the radiators. So I had the radiators on for a few hours, and then they still weren't heating up, and then on our little box thing it said preheating, and I'm like, oh, they're broken, what's wrong with them? They're not heating up, I'm gonna freeze to death, this apartment's so cold, I just need to warm it up, because I was like proper shaking. So I decided to use my hot water in my shower and just blast it on full heat so that the steam would then flow out into the apartment and warm that up, because I was desperate. What I ended up doing was setting the fire alarm off. So we have really high ceilings here and I can't reach them. Daniel's up there trying to swat the smoke or the humidity away from it. Still going off. It was really loud. We couldn't find the button to like press it. There was no button. It's hanging off the roof because Daniel's twisted it off trying to take batteries out of it to get the batteries to make it stop. This is 10 o'clock at night at this point. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then everything I read online was like, turn off your power, turn off this. So we turned off all the power to the apartment. The fire alarm is still going. I'm like, I'm just gonna like, at this point I'm like, just break the thing. I don't care, I'll pay to replace it. And then he went out into the hall and he's like, came back in and he's like, it's going off in the entire building. But fortunately this was over the Christmas break, so no one was home. Thank God. I'd be so angry if someone set the alarm off at 10 o'clock at night on a Sunday and it was me. So I'm so lucky that no one was here. I was like calling all of like the managers and that, but this was like New Year's Eve. So like no one's working and it's nighttime. So no one's answering and had to turn this damn alarm off. So then I did some Googling. Daniel had to crawl inside a wall and found some panel and it looked like something out of like Mission Impossible, with like how to type in a code, and somehow he got it to turn off and he walked upstairs and came inside and he was very defeated because it was like a long travel day and then all we wanted to do was sleep and this alarm was going off. So he came in very defeated and I'm just like, that's the sexiest thing you've ever done, turning off that alarm. Jesus. It's like, so stupid. I didn't know that shower steam could set off a smoke alarm, but here we are. I also think it's quite a high-tech one because this whole apartment block was renovated recently, so I think she put in some fancy one that doesn't turn off. So yeah, super embarrassing. Could have been worse though. Could have been worse if someone was in our building, but I'm sure the neighbors on the other side definitely heard it. So I think I have embarrassed myself enough by telling you all the stupid things I say wrong or do wrong. I'm sure there'll be more, so if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and I'll make a part 2 of all my more embarrassing moments in the UK. And you can tell me in the comments below basically how to be better, because tell me more about this like highway, motorway thing, because I need to know if I'm about to get a million fines in the mail. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your kind words again. Remember to hit subscribe if you want to see me again. I like to see you again. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.